Farm Fresh, Backyard Fish Farm. Episode 3, Your Water System, Filtration and the Nitrogen Cycle, the biological engine that keeps your fish alive. In Episode 2, you chose your tank type, calculated your minimum tank volume, confirmed your placement location, and sourced your tank. If you have not completed those 4 actions, go back and do them before continuing. This episode builds directly on that foundation. Today you are going to learn how water becomes toxic in a fish tank, and why, what the nitrogen cycle is, and how it protects your fish, what filtration systems you need, and how to install them, and how to cycle your tank before your fingerlings arrive. By the end of this episode, you will understand exactly what is happening inside your water at all times, and you will be able to keep it safe. This is the most important episode in this entire series. A farmer with a perfect tank in a perfect location will lose every fish they stock if they do not understand what this episode teaches. One backyard tilapia farmer cycled his tank for 4 weeks, confirmed stable readings, then added 100 fingerlings in a single day. Within 72 hours, his ammonia level had spiked to 6 parts per million. Within 5 days, he had lost 63 fish. He did not do anything obviously wrong. He did one thing incorrectly, and we will cover exactly what that was before this episode ends. To understand why your water system matters, you need to understand one fundamental truth about fish farming. Fish live in the same water they produce waste in. Every time a fish releases waste, that waste begins breaking down into ammonia, directly into the water your fish are breathing. In an open natural environment like a river or a lake, that ammonia is diluted across an enormous volume of water and consumed by plants, bacteria, and other organisms before it reaches dangerous levels. In a closed backyard tank, that same process happens in a contained space with no natural dilution. Without active management, ammonia builds up fast and kills your fish before you see a single warning sign. This is not a solvable problem by simply changing water more often. It is solved by building a living biological system inside your tank that continuously converts toxic compounds into harmless ones. That system is called the nitrogen cycle, and establishing it before your fish arrive is the single most important step in this entire series. Pro tip: write the words nitrogen cycle somewhere you will see them every day during your first month of farming. Not because you will forget the concept, but because every decision you make in the first 30 days of your farm connects back to whether your nitrogen cycle is established, stable, and protected. When something goes wrong in a new farm, the nitrogen cycle is the first place you look. The nitrogen cycle in your fish tank works in 3 stages, and each stage is driven by a different population of beneficial bacteria that live in your filtration system. Stage 1 is ammonia production. Fish release waste continuously through their gills and their bodies. Uneaten feed also breaks down into ammonia. In a new tank with no established bacterial colony, ammonia accumulates with nothing to break it down. Ammonia is acutely toxic to tilapia at concentrations above 1 part per million, at a pH above 7. At concentrations above 3 parts per million, tilapia experience gill damage, immune suppression, and death within hours to days depending on temperature and fish size. Stage 2 is the conversion of ammonia to nitrite. A group of beneficial bacteria called nitrosomonas, when present in sufficient numbers, consume ammonia and convert it to nitrite. Nitrite is also toxic to fish, though generally less immediately lethal than ammonia at equivalent concentrations. Nitrite poisoning interferes with the ability of blood to carry oxygen, causing fish to suffocate even in well-oxygenated water. Safe nitrite levels for tilapia are below 0.5 parts per million. Above 1 part per million, tilapia show stress. Above 5 parts per million, mortality begins. Stage 3 is the conversion of nitrite to nitrate. A second group of beneficial bacteria called nitrobacter consume nitrite and convert it to nitrate. Nitrate is far less toxic than ammonia or nitrite. Tilapia tolerate nitrate levels up to approximately 100 parts per million before showing stress, though keeping nitrate below 40 parts per million through regular partial water changes is best practice. At safe nitrate levels, partial water changes of 10 to 20% per week are sufficient to keep the system balanced. When all three stages are fully established and running simultaneously, your tank is said to be cycled. A cycled tank continuously converts ammonia to nitrate faster than your fish can produce waste, keeping your water safe at all times. Pro tip: the bacteria that drive the nitrogen cycle live on surfaces, not in open water. They colonize your filter media, the walls of your tank, and any solid surface submerged in your water. This is why your filtration system is not just a cleaning device. It is a living habitat for the bacterial colony that keeps your fish alive. Never clean your biological filter media with tap water. Chlorine in tap water kills beneficial bacteria instantly. Rinse biological filter media only in water taken directly from your tank. We will return to this point in the filtration section. There are two types of filtration your tank requires. They serve different functions, and both are essential. The first type is mechanical filtration. Mechanical filtration physically removes solid particles from your water. These particles include fish waste, uneaten feed, and organic debris. If solid particles are left in the water, they break down into ammonia and accelerate the toxic load on your biological filter. Mechanical filtration intercepts them before that breakdown occurs. The most common and effective mechanical filter for a backyard fish tank is a sponge filter, a settling tank, or a drum filter depending on your scale. For a beginner setup of 1,000 to 2,000 liters, a sponge pre-filter on your water intake, or a simple radial flow settler is effective, affordable, and available globally. A radial flow settler is a container where water enters at the bottom, rises slowly through the vessel, and solids settle to the bottom for periodic removal, while clean water exits at the top. You can build one from a food-grade plastic barrel and basic plumbing fittings available at any hardware store worldwide. The second type is biological filtration. Biological filtration is the living heart of your water system. It is the physical structure where your beneficial bacterial colony lives and does its work. Your biological filter must provide the maximum possible surface area for bacterial colonization while allowing water to flow through it continuously. The most effective and widely available biological filter media for beginner backyard systems are plastic bioballs, ceramic rings, or cut pieces of plastic scrubbing pad material. All three provide high surface area, are inert and fish safe, do not break down over time, and are available at aquaculture suppliers, pet stores, and hardware stores worldwide. Fill your biological filter housing with your chosen media. Connect it to your water pump so water flows through it continuously, and allow it to colonize with beneficial bacteria during the cycling process. Your water pump is the engine that connects your mechanical and biological filtration systems. It draws water from your tank, pushes it through your filters, and returns clean water to the tank continuously. For a 1,000 to 2,000 liter tank, a submersible or inline water pump rated at a turnover rate of 1 to 2 times the tank volume per hour is standard. That means for a 1,000 liter tank, your pump should move 1,000 to 2,000 liters of water per hour. Pump specifications will state flow rate in liters per hour or gallons per hour. Match your pump to your tank volume using that calculation. Failure warning. A backyard farmer installed a pump rated at 200 liters per hour on a 1,500-liter tank. His water was turning over once every 7.5 hours instead of once every hour. Organic waste sat in the water between cycles. Ammonia built up faster than his biological filter could process it, and his nitrite levels never stabilized below 2 parts per million. His fish survived but grew at 30% below the expected rate for 12 weeks before he identified the pump as the cause. Always match your pump flow rate to your tank volume before purchase. Aeration is not part of your filtration system, but it works alongside it and is equally critical. Aeration is the process of pumping air into your tank, water to maintain dissolved oxygen levels that your fish and your beneficial bacteria both require. Your fish require dissolved oxygen to breathe. Your beneficial bacteria also require dissolved oxygen to perform the nitrogen cycle conversions that keep your water safe. If dissolved oxygen drops, your fish suffocate and your nitrogen cycle slows or collapses simultaneously. Both problems occur at the same time, which is why oxygen crashes in backyard tanks are so rapidly fatal. The standard aeration equipment for a backyard fish tank is an air pump connected to airline tubing and an air diffuser stone or membrane diffuser placed at the bottom of your tank. The diffuser breaks the airstream into small bubbles, which increases the surface area of contact between air and water and maximizes oxygen transfer. For a 1,000 to 2,000 liter tank, an air pump rated at a minimum of 30 to 60 liters per minute of air output is sufficient. Larger tanks and higher stocking densities require proportionally larger aeration. Position your diffuser at the lowest point of your tank. Rising bubbles create water circulation that distributes oxygen evenly throughout the entire water column and prevents cold, stagnant zones from forming at the bottom, where waste accumulates. Safe dissolved oxygen levels for tilapia are above 5 milligrams per liter, below 3 milligrams per liter. Tilapia show surface gasping. Below 2 milligrams per liter. Mortality begins within hours. Dissolved oxygen levels can be measured with an aquaculture dissolved oxygen meter available at aquaculture suppliers and scientific equipment stores worldwide. Pro tip: run your aeration system continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Never turn it off to save electricity. The cost of running an aquaculture air pump continuously for 1 month is a fraction of the cost of replacing a tank of fish lost to an overnight oxygen crash. Aeration is not optional and is not intermittent. It runs all the time. Here is the mentor moment that makes this real. Early in my farming experience, I had a power outage that lasted 4 hours overnight. I did not know until the following morning. By the time I checked the tank, my fish were clustered at the surface, gasping. My dissolved oxygen had dropped to below 2 milligrams per liter. I lost 11 fish that morning and spent the next 2 weeks managing a stress-related bacterial infection that swept through the weakened survivors. After that experience, I invested in a battery backup air pump that activates automatically during power outages. That backup has saved my fish twice since then. If you are in an area with unreliable power, a battery backup air pump is not a luxury. It is insurance. Failure warning. A tilapia farmer in a region with frequent load-shedding power cuts ran no backup aeration system. During a 6-hour overnight outage, she lost 140 fish to oxygen depletion. The remaining 60 fish were severely stressed. Growth halted for 3 weeks, and a secondary disease outbreak claimed another 20 fish over the following 10 days. Total loss from one power outage was 160 fish and an entire month of growth. A battery backup air pump costs less than the value of 20 tilapia fingerlings. Factor it into your budget before you stock. Now that you understand what the nitrogen cycle is and what equipment supports it, here is exactly how to cycle your tank before your fingerlings arrive. There are 2 methods for cycling a tank. The first is a fishless cycle, which is completed before any fish enter the water. The second is a fish-in cycle, which is done with fish present. For a beginner backyard fish farmer, the fishless cycle is the strongly recommended method because it allows your bacterial colony to establish fully without risking fish health during the process. To begin a fishless cycle, fill your tank completely with your water source and run your pump and aeration system continuously. Add a source of ammonia to feed the bacterial colony you are building. The cleanest and most controllable ammonia source for a fishless cycle is pure ammonia solution with no added surfactants or scents. This is available at hardware stores and cleaning supply stores in most countries. Add enough ammonia to bring your tank water to approximately 2 parts per million, as measured by your test kit. Check your ammonia level with your test kit to confirm the starting concentration. Within 7 to 14 days, beneficial bacteria will begin colonizing your filter media, and you will see nitrite levels begin to rise as ammonia starts to be converted. Continue adding small amounts of ammonia every 2 to 3 days to maintain a feeding source for your growing bacterial colony. Keep your ammonia level between 1 and 2 parts per million throughout the cycling process. Between week 2 and week 4, your nitrite levels will peak and then begin to fall as your nitrobacter population grows and begins converting nitrite to nitrate. You will see nitrate levels rising as evidence that the full 3-stage cycle is operating. Your tank is fully cycled when all 3 of the following conditions are met simultaneously. Your ammonia level is 0 parts per million. Your nitrite level is 0 parts per million. Your nitrite level is 0 parts per million. Your nitrate level is greater than 0 and rising. When all 3 conditions are met and remain stable for 48 consecutive hours, your tank is ready for fish. The full fishless cycling process typically takes 4 to 8 weeks depending on water temperature, the quality of your ammonia source, and whether you seed your filter with established bacterial media to accelerate the process. Pro tip: you can significantly accelerate the cycling process by seeding your biological filter with established bacterial media from an already cycled system. If you know another backyard farmer, aquaculture operator, or even an aquarium hobbyist with a healthy established tank, ask for a handful of their filter media or a cup of their tank gravel. Transferring that media to your new biological filter introduces an established bacterial colony immediately and can cut your cycling time from 6 weeks down to 2 weeks or less. If no local source is available, commercially bottled live nitrifying bacteria are sold at pet stores and aquaculture suppliers globally under various brand names. Ask your supplier for a live nitrifying bacteria starter culture and add it according to the directions on the packaging. Now here is the answer to what that farmer did wrong at the beginning of this episode. He cycled his tank correctly for 4 weeks and confirmed stable readings. Then he added 100 fingerlings in a single day. Adding 100 fish simultaneously multiplied his ammonia output by 100 times overnight. His bacterial colony, sized to handle a gradual increase in bioload, was overwhelmed instantly. The ammonia spike was not the result of a failed cycle. It was the result of adding too many fish too fast and collapsing a healthy cycle with a bioload it was never given time to adjust to. The correct stocking method after cycling is to add fish gradually. Stock 25 to 30% of your target number in the first week. Allow 1 to 2 weeks for your bacterial colony to adjust to the increased bioload while monitoring ammonia and nitrite daily. If both remain at 0, add another 25 to 30%. Continue in stages until you reach your full target stocking number. The entire stocking process, from first fish to full stock, should take 3 to 4 weeks minimum. Failure warning: stocking a full tank of fish on day 1 after cycling is the single most common cause of new tank syndrome in beginner aquaculture operations. In a study of small-scale backyard fish farm failures, immediate full stocking after cycling was identified as a contributing factor in over 50% of first-cycle fish loss events. The cycle is built to handle a gradual bioload. Respect that limit and stock in stages every time, including every time you restock after a harvest. Here is what you need to adjust based on where you are in the world. If you are using municipal tap water, your water contains chlorine or chloramine added by your water utility to make it safe for human consumption. Both chlorine and chloramine are lethal to the beneficial bacteria that drive your nitrogen cycle and will also directly harm your fish at sufficient concentrations. Before adding tap water to your tank at any stage, treat it with a dechlorinator product available at pet stores and aquaculture suppliers globally. Alternatively, fill an open container with tap water and allow it to sit uncovered and aerated for 24 hours. This off-gases chlorine effectively, but does not remove chloramine. If your municipal supplier uses chloramine, use a dechlorinator product specifically labeled for chloramine removal. If you are using well water, test your water for naturally occurring ammonia and iron before cycling. Some groundwater sources contain elevated baseline ammonia that will interfere with your ability to accurately monitor your cycling progress. Iron above 0.3 parts per million is harmful to beneficial bacteria and can inhibit the nitrogen cycle. If your well water tests high for either compound, consult a local water treatment specialist before using it as your primary tank water source. If you are using rainwater, test for pH before use. Rainwater is naturally soft and slightly acidic, with a pH typically between 5.5 and 6.5. Your nitrogen cycle functions best between pH 6.8 and pH 7.8. If your rainwater tests below pH 6.8, add a small amount of baking soda, which is sodium bicarbonate, to raise pH gradually. Add it in small increments. Retest after each addition and stop when you reach pH 7.0. Do not add large amounts at once. Rapid pH changes stress and kill beneficial bacteria and fish alike. Wherever you are in the world, confirm your water source chemistry before you begin cycling. 1 hour of testing before you start will prevent weeks of troubleshooting after you have stocked fish. Before you move to episode 4, complete these 5 actions. The first action is to install your pump and aeration system in your tank and confirm both are running correctly. Run them for 24 hours before you add anything else. The second action is to install your mechanical filtration, whether that is a sponge pre-filter, a radial flow settler, or another mechanical filter, and confirm water is flowing through it properly. The third action is to install your biological filter, media in your filter housing, and confirm water is flowing through it continuously. The fourth action is to test your water source for chlorine or chloramine, pH, and baseline ammonia. Write down all 3 results. This is your starting chemistry baseline. The fifth action is to begin your fishless cycle. Add your ammonia source to bring your tank to 2 parts per million and begin daily testing. Record every test result in a written log. Date each entry. This log is your farm's operational record and the first document of your farming history.